Big changes are coming up to Trinity regarding class registration and meal plan options. How spikes meal plan pricing and the retirement of tire pods will impact you starting soon.
And last week, the fences came down on the Coates Esplanade construction project. Newswave caught up with the Vice President of Student Affairs for an update on the project's completion.
All this and more right now on Newswave. Good afternoon and welcome back to Newswave. Today is Friday, February 21st. I'm Luke McCauley.
And I'm Michaela Mendoza.
A recent disruption has prompted campus leaders here at Trinity to spring into action after dorm buildings went without scheduled cleaning services for over 4 months. These service cleanings include vacuuming and bathroom sanitation, but due to the absence of cleaning services from late October to early February, students had growing hygiene concerns and disrupted routines. Students living in Herndon Hall, Whitwin Hall, Beasley Hall, Thomas Hall, and North Hall claim to be affected by the issue. First-year student, urban studies major, and SGA Senator John De Hoyos claimed his dorm hasn't been serviced since November and brought up the issues during last week's SGA meeting. John says, quote, "I'm still working with Residential Life to see how we can make sure this doesn't happen again, because I'm not the only student going through this," end quote. Abigail Salazar, a first-year biochemistry major who lives in Whitwin Hall, had this to say about the situation. Quote, "I know it's not a big deal, but I feel like if they said they're going to clean every 2 weeks, they should actually do it," end quote. Services for all dorms for Trinity's campus have resumed this week.
Up now, Newswave reporter Joey Mattingly interviewed VP of Student Affairs Andrew Wells during Chocolate Fest, the grand reopening of Coates Esplanade. Check it out.
Hello, my name is Joey Mattingly, and I'm back with an update from the Coates Esplanade construction.
So the Esplanade project kicked off in early fall semester, and we had some delays with, as you probably saw in the student newspapers, so there were some discovery of underground pipes and stuff that we had to work around that have been there for a long time that we didn't really know about in advance. So there were some delays, but I'm really pleased with how it turned out. As you can see, we're already kicking off with Chocolate Fest on the Esplanade. This is our grand reopening, and I'm real pleased with the fact that you can see so many tables out there. The limestone walls that surround the flower beds are a great place for students to sit on as they're tabling. The other thing that I think I want to point out that you can't see right now because it's daytime, but at night this place is lit up a lot better. We have quite a bit more outdoor lighting out here now than we had prior to the project starting.
I'm just glad that there's not construction anymore. It makes it a lot easier to walk around and get to class, and I think it looks great.
From what I've seen so far, it feels like the Esplanade has become that mid-century type of look that Trinity is trying to come back to. And I think it does it pretty well. I mean, we flatten the ground, it looks, which is usually pretty good for transportation. And it seems like it's a great use of space so far, so I'm really enjoying it.
So that is the Fiesta Room patio, and so outside of the Fiesta Room, we have this raised seating area that outside of during events will have furniture out there, but for events like this and for events that student clubs and groups reserve, we can have a DJ platform there. So there's actually wiring there for a high power, what's called a spider box. So if you wanted a DJ with a lot of amplified sound to be able to perform from the stage, it now has power for that. And something that we've added infrastructure for a future project is now there's pipe that runs underneath the cement so that eventually we'll be able to install permanent outdoor speakers.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's really pretty, and this is a fun event to be able to see it in its grandeur for the first time. Yeah, lots of people. But I think it looks good filled with people.
Love the little garden that they had before, and I think it looks great now.
Something that I'm excited to see is how students use the space. So for example, today we have Chocolate Fest. A week from today we have Black Essence Festival. Coming up later this semester, we have an event that the Trinitonian is running, and then the AAPI organization is running some recruitment events. So as students start using the space and reserving it and bringing guests and putting on events out here, we'll have a better sense for what are the remaining needs. So do we need to do more light out here? Do we need to do better sound out here? Do we need to acquire different furniture? Around the large inner form sculpture, there used to be a big kind of grass oval that people didn't really sit on because it was there was a little brick wall that surrounded it. That grass oval has been, it's been shrunk down into a limestone circle around the art piece, and now there's more room for seating out there. So if we want to have an event on the stage with seating facing it, we now have a lot more room. So we're just going to see how people are using it and then lean into the infrastructure choices based on how it's being used. Well, it's been a pleasure, and I'm so glad that people are interested in the project.
On February 13th, Trinity Dining notified students about major changes to meal plans for next year. These changes include new names and price increases to all meal plans both on and off campus. On-campus meal plans will have new names and are comparable to this year's meal plans. But the surprise is that for all first year, sophomores, and juniors not living in City Vista, pricing will increase dramatically. What used to be the Flex Plan tiers will become the new Bronze Plan, increasing by about $60. The new Silver Plan increasing by almost $180, and the Maroon Unlimited Plan costing $177 more. While prices have risen, these plans work weekly rather than per semester, meaning that students have more meal swipes per week. Off-campus meal plans have also increased with the new Commuter 350, Commuter 500, and campus-wide meal plans, costing $270 to nearly $600 more, depending on the plan chosen. While meal swipes have increased with these plans, the number of bonus bucks offered with these plans will vary, depending on the plan chosen. There have been other small changes to these plans, such as introducing takeout boxes from Maybe Dining Hall and increased swipes. Still, many students have expressed negative reactions to the meal plan changes. Otero and Lawson Hayes, junior biochemistry and molecular biology major, had this to say, quote, "My original plan was to continue working as an RA, but I'm looking at these cost options and they're not feasible for me because the point of becoming an RA is to get free housing. But I'm forced to live on campus, so I'm forced to get a meal plan, so I feel that with these raised prices, there's less incentive for me," end quote.
The time has come. Trinity will officially be retiring its long-standing Tiger Paws system, which has served the campus community since the late 1990s. The university will transition to Workday, a modern cloud-based platform ahead of the upcoming summer and fall 2025 class registration, beginning March 17th of this year. This change follows the digital transformation team's preparation over the past 2 years, ensuring that Workday encompasses all functionalities of Tiger Paws while introducing new features. Workday is already used for payroll, but additional enhancements include the ability for students to plan and save multiple classes scheduled and record name pronunciations for faculty access before classes commence. Michelle Bartokniko, senior strategist and project manager overseeing the Workday student transition, explained to the Trentonian that Workday is aimed to lower student stress because, quote, "The HR data, student worker data, the student academic data, it's all in one place now," end quote. Students will receive invitations to begin onboarding with Workday Student on March 17th, which involves updating personal information and setting up new profiles. After completing onboarding and consulting with their advisors, students will be prepared to register for their upcoming classes. This transition marks the final phase of Trinity's digital transformation initiative, reflecting the university's commitment to enhancing the technological experience for its community.
Still coming up, an earthquake struck West Texas.
And Texas abortion restrictions are clashing with Dr. Shield laws from around the country.
This and more local news when we return.
Bring it. Time out, guys. I'm late to dinner. My mom's gonna kill me. Catch you guys later.
Mom wants us home.
Okay. Bye, guys.
You guys need a ride?
Sure. Yeah. All right, how about some one-on-one?
I gotta go eat, man. Sorry, I'll see you later.
Welcome back to Newswave. Our city of San Antonio announced on February 3rd that the Migrant Resource Center would no longer be accepting new arrivals. As of last week, the last group of migrants have officially left the MRC, marking the closure of the building. The MRC provided internet and cell phone access to people traveling through San Antonio, as well as navigation and transportation services to move them to their destinations. However, the usage of the building was in steady decline as there was a 72% drop of new migrants entering between January of 2024 and January of 2025, which led city officials to the conclusion that the cost of running the MRC was no longer worth it. City manager Eric Walsh commented, quote, "Until now, the MRC has served a vital role to ensure the safety and security of both residents and migrants passing through San Antonio." At the time, hundreds of migrants were arriving at the San Antonio International Airport and the downtown Greyhound bus station daily, with most having no travel arrangements to get to their destinations, but that is no longer the case, end quote.
A magnitude 5.0 earthquake struck West Texas late last Friday night, shaking areas over 150 miles away, including El Paso. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, the quake's epicenter was near the border of Culberson and Reeves counties, about 33 miles northwest of Toyah. 3 aftershocks followed, but no injuries or significant damage has been reported. Nearly 950,000 people experienced weak to light shaking, with tremors felt as far as eastern New Mexico. The National Weather Service in El Paso asked residents on X if they had felt the quake. This marks one of the Texas's strongest recorded earthquakes, tied for 6th place. Scientists link increased seismic activity in West Texas to hydraulic fracking, also known as fracking, which raises fluid pressure underground and triggers faults. Following a major quake in 2022, Texas regulators restricted water injections to curb seismic events.
Temperatures dropped fast this week, and the Miller Fountain even froze over on Thursday morning. To keep you posted on whether these freezing temps are here to stay, Newswave Chief Meteorologist Luke Morton has your weekly weather update.
Good afternoon, everyone, and I hope you all had a great week. Old Man Winter made a big return to San Antonio this past week. Temperatures were well below average, with wind chills reaching the single digits on Thursday morning. We will finally begin to thaw out starting this weekend. Saturday looks to be pretty chilly, and we could see some rain showers, so be sure to pack your umbrella and an umbrella if you're heading out tomorrow. Look for highs only near 40 degrees and lows near the freezing mark. Sunday is when we will really start to thaw out, with clearing skies and highs reaching the 60s, which is where we should be for this time of year. Lows will be comfortably above freezing on Sunday night. Next week, we will see even warmer temperatures, with highs well into the 70s under partly to mostly sunny skies. Wednesday could even see high temperatures near 80, so the weather roller coaster continues. We could see another front towards the end of next week that will cool things off, but again, not nearly to the extent we saw this past week. And then we are on to March, which means spring is not too far away. Anyways, that's going to be it for me this week. I hope you all have a safe and warm weekend, and I will see you all next week.
This past week, in a unanimous decision, the Northeast Independent Schools District Board voted to close 3 schools: Driscoll Middle School, Wilshire Elementary School, and Clear Spring Elementary School, effective next academic year. Parents and community members have expressed deep concern and frustration over the closures. Ashley Nicholson, the parent of a student at Driscoll Middle School, explained, quote, "There was a lot of great discussion, and then unanimously, 7-0, not one school board member voted nay," end quote. These school closures came as enrollment levels decline, ranging from a 27% to 43% drop across these schools. Parents explain that the benefits of smaller class sizes and proximity to schools will now be lost. Tim Springer, a parent with children at Driscoll, stated, quote, "Families who have 6th and 7th graders are going to have a lot to figure out. What's the best move? Or especially if the bus transportation doesn't take them to their next spot, end quote. Although the response of the district is to consolidate students into certain schools, families are worried about what is to come and how their students will receive the proper resources to be successful with more students in school.
Texas' conservative abortion ban is facing off against New York's SHIELD law after a New York doctor allegedly sent abortion pills to patients in the Lone Star State in Louisiana. Texas is not bringing criminal charges against Dr. Maggie Carpenter, but she has been charged with a felony in Louisiana. Last week, New York Governor Kathy Hochul denied Louisiana's request to extradite Dr. Carpenter. Meanwhile, a Texas judge has ordered Carpenter to pay a $100,000 penalty alongside additional legal fees. Texas sued Dr. Carpenter in December for allegedly prescribing abortion pills to a 20-year-old woman near Dallas. In a statement following the judge's order, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton called it, quote, the first cause in the nation to hold doctors accountable for providing abortion drugs in a state where they are illegal.
Coming up, we've got headlines from around the country. Newswave will be right back in 30 seconds.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate, and it's worn like a badge of honor with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. Because love has no labels.
A massive storm system swept through the southeast last weekend, bringing a deadly mix of heavy rains, winds, and flash flooding to the region. The National Weather Service reported at least one tornado in Alabama and sent warnings to several others. Kentucky was slammed by a series of heavy rainstorms. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear reported that at least 11 were killed in the state during the storm, including a woman and child who drowned in the floodwaters. He said, quote, the biggest challenge of this event is it's everywhere, end quote. He also reported that emergency response crews conducted over 1,000 rescues as he urged Kentuckians to avoid driving if possible. Heavy rains also drenched Tennessee as some areas were hit by over 7 inches of precipitation. A levee near the town of Rives, Tennessee, broke, causing rapid onset flooding in the town. The storms also caused widespread power outages as hundreds of thousands of people remain in the dark across West Virginia, Georgia, and Kentucky.
The latest news from Washington AP is that the Trump administration has made an emergency appeal for the Supreme Court to allow them to fire the head of the whistleblower agency. The appeal is for the majority conservative court to lift a judge's order reinstating the current head of the whistleblower agency. Doing this would allow them to get rid of Hampton Dillinger as the leader for the Office of Special Counsel. Dillinger fought back by saying that he could only be fired if he was performing poorly at his job, which was not stated in the email written regarding his dismissal. The petition came about after a court's initial refusal to lift the order. It all began last week when removal from his leadership role prompted him to sue. The administration is saying that Trump should be able to remove Dillinger because that it is within his power to do so. Nonetheless, Trump's removal of Dillinger is part of his plan to shrink and reshape the federal government.
In Nebraska, a real estate agent recently found an unexpected guest sitting on her couch, an opossum. Next to the couch sat the remnants of a chocolate cake from Costco that was mostly eaten. After being caught in the act, this opossum was given the fitting nickname of the Cake Bandit. However, it may have saved the possum's life. After it was suspected that chocolate was poisonous to opossums, the Cake Bandit was taken to the hospital where she was treated for more than just overeating. As Laura Stancy, the director of Nebraska Wildlife Rehab, said, quote, it appears that she was lucky to have been caught red-handed because it allowed her to come to our hospital and get diagnosed with what can become a fatal condition in wildlife, end quote. Despite her recent run-in with the law, the Cake Bandit is expected to make a full recovery, with the hope being she will be released into the wild.
Still up ahead, we've got headlines from around the globe. Stick around. We'll be right back after this short message.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. If you could see you through my eyes instead of your ego, I believe you'd be surprised to see that you've been blind. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Yeah, before you abuse, criticize and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
This week, the second largest city in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, Baku, fell to the Rwandan-backed M23 rebels, being it the second largest city to fall to the rebels' hands after the city of Goma in the mineral-rich region. Fighters marched into the city, seizing control of the regional governor's office as people lined the street to clap and cheer them on. Despite the support of people, the rebels' control has caused major ramifications for the city. Hundreds of thousands of people have been forced from their homes, and the UN and European countries warn that this could spark a wider regional war. A resident of Bukavu had this to say, quote, "Since yesterday the children and the youth took the weapons. They are shooting everywhere in all directions. They are looting. The place where I live, the crackling gunfire can still be heard." End quote. Congolese troops eventually withdrew to avoid urban fighting. As a result, chaotic scenes played out, including a prison breakout from the central prison in a warehouse where nearly 5,000 tons of food was looted. While chaos continues to ensue, President of Kagame of Rwanda works to deal with the situation at hand.
Now we've got your weekly campus sports update with Newswave sports editor Caleb Reed.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Newswave. My name is Caleb Reed, and let's get right back into sports. Firstly, it was a bittersweet night for Trinity basketball, as they went 3-1 on senior weekend, along with a clean sweep on the final home night of the season. The men and women split the games against Texas Lutheran, with the Trinity women falling 66-79, but the men absolutely crushing the Bulldogs 80-59. Senior Day was a much better story, though, as the Tigers swept Southwestern by some incredibly convincing scores. In the final home game for Josie Napoli and Bailey Timmons, the women blasted the Pirates 110-56 and also broke the 100-point barrier for just the third time this season. Napoli led the scoring with 26 points, while Kylie Minter chimed in with 23 as she went 6 for 7 from deep, and Natalie Greenwood also added 11 rebounds in a double-double performance. The men then dominated Southwestern with a 94-63 final, and it was an incredible day for more reasons than one. 2 days before the game, the team added senior student manager Henry Thompson, who had been on the bench assisting the coaches since he came to Trinity. Thompson played for 2 minutes at the end of the TOU game and sent the gym into an absolute frenzy, but was unfortunately unable to score. He came in for the final 2 minutes of the Southwestern game and hit a beautiful fadeaway jumper, sending Calgard into just a crazy explosion of excitement. Of course, both on the gym and in the gym and on the bench as well. It was the first and so far only points of Thompson's career, but one shot that will be remembered in Trinity basketball history for years to come. Both teams will now be on the road this weekend in Houston and Colorado, before the conference championship tournament in Irving next week. Softball's home opener may have been delayed, but they performed amazingly last weekend with a 3-game sweep over Austin College on the road in Sherman. The Tigers won all 3 games by over 4 runs, with the Roos scoring just 2 runs over the entire weekend. Trinity won Game 1 by a 5-1 score, and then Game 2 with an 8-0 score, but it was Game 3 where they really dominated. After scoring 8 runs in the first inning, the Tigers ultimately blanked Austin en route to a dominant 15-0 final in 5 innings. It was a big game for more than just the hitters, though, as pitcher Megan Krischbaum pitched a 5-inning no-hitter, Trinity's first no-hitter performance since Allie Holbrook in 2019. The team will now play here at home for the first time this season, although it's going to be a day later than previously anticipated. And actually, we do have an update here, which came out just earlier today. There has been another schedule change. The game will now be played on Sunday, Sunday the 23rd at 12 and 2 p.m. And then on Tuesday, it has been delayed to March, the third game of that series, which will be played at 7 p.m. on the 25th. This was due to a bunch of temperature and weather issues, but nonetheless, the three-game series will be played eventually between two very good teams which made up the conference championship last season. And finally, in pro sports, the San Antonio Spurs were dealt a devastating loss on Thursday morning whenever it was announced that All-Star as well as Defensive Player of the Year candidate Victor Wembanyama would be sidelined for the rest of the season due to a blood clot in his shoulder. The clot was discovered after Wembanyama's return from the All-Star game in San Francisco, and the team hopes to have him back in time for the start of next season. That's it for me. I hope that y'all have a great and warm weekend, and make sure to tune into some softball this Sunday. Take care.
As tensions rise in the war between Israel and Gaza, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio released a joint statement in Jerusalem showing the alignment of the two nations. While addressing the statement, Netanyahu vowed to, quote, open the gates of hell if the remaining hostages are not returned. According to CBS News, this statement comes just 2 weeks into a ceasefire negotiated by Israel and Hamas, where Hamas is slated to release dozens of hostages in exchange for Palestinian prisoners. Rubio echoed the Prime Minister's desire to free the hostages, saying, quote, if it was up to us, every one of these hostages would be home right now, and we want it to happen as soon as possible, end quote. Recently, the ceasefire almost came to an end as Israel executed an airstrike on people who approached their forces in the Gaza Strip, with Hamas calling the attack a, quote, serious violation, end quote, of the deal. As the conflict in Gaza continues, Newswave will be sure to keep you updated.
Sadly, that's all the time we have for this week.
Keep an eye out for our next week's broadcast on Friday, February 28th. Until then, I'm Michaela Minoza.
And I'm Luke McCauley.